like to invite our speaker to enter the room, Mr. Edward.
Actually,
Hello.
I'm here already. I'm listening to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Edward. So what should I call you, Mr. Edward or Mr. Rubesch?
You can just call me Ed. Just call me Ed.
Okay, Ed. Is that okay? Ed?
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, before we getting started, we'd like to know you more, and it's my responsibility as a moderator, of course, to, having a chit chat with you before we getting started. So is it okay?
Please chit chat with me.
Okay. Haha, thank you. So, very first question about you, of course, is that how was everything started for Edward Rubesch? I mean, you gained your degree in mechanical engineering, right?
Yep.
You get your bachelor degree in Massachusetts, your master science in Massachusetts also for both mechanical engineering, and then you move your path into management in Thailand, and then you more likely continue and enjoying your marketing world. So how was everything started until even up to this day for Edward Rubesch?
Well, that's a very long story. So I think I'll probably give you just a couple of minutes introduction, and then we can figure out the rest as we go. But I should give some disclaimers too. Zaki, you get your disclaimers, so I get my disclaimers now. Okay? Is that fair?
Okay. Fair. It's fair.
Okay. So first disclaimer. You said your English is not very good. Well, my Bahasa is not very good either. Okay, so we'll have to figure this out together. And what that means is I encourage everybody to use the chat. So if some of you are not sure what I said, please ask a question. And if somebody else understands a little bit what I said, please answer the question. Okay, so that's the first thing. My second disclaimer is in this last year, I've had to do a lot of remote training and remote teaching and remote meetings like everybody else. But I much rather be in the room, because if I'm in the room with you guys, I can walk straight up to somebody and point to them and say, hey, answer this question. So we're going to try to find a way to do that tonight, even though I just have a long list of names. And I have someone here to help me do that. So it's not me alone. I'm also here with my partner, Natia Kunti Wongwan, who is Thai, and we run a company there. There she is. Hello,
Natia. Natia.
Hi.
Hi, very well. Anyways, So Nati and I run a company together. We're creating a platform to manage a lot of the innovation programs we run. In addition to that, we do a lot of the coaching and innovation development that is really the background of today. So Natia will be helping me also watch the chat, and she will be making sure that you guys are talking. So she might be sending messages from time to time saying, hey, what are you guys doing? Start answering some questions or talking or whatever. And she's much tougher than I am, so be careful, okay? The final disclaimer, and this is a very serious one, and that is normally I go to bed at 8 o'clock. So that's true, actually. You guys are laughing, but this is true, okay? And so if I fall asleep, Natia will take over and we'll talk to you tomorrow, okay? So that's basically the plan. But we're going to try to be very interactive, even though we have a lot of us in the group today. And that means all of us may have to work a little harder, but let's see what happens, all right? Let's see what happens. Everything is an experiment for us, all right? You ready, Dick? Excellent. Okay, that's my disclaimer, Zaki. So you had asked me a question, how things get started. Well, first of all, I am an engineer, and in fact, even today, I view myself more as an engineer than anything else. Are there any engineers in this group? Any technical people, scientists, engineers, anything like that? Can you guys thumbs up if you're any of those people? Or are you guys all business people? There's one. Excellent. how do you say your name? Faik? Faik? You have to unmute.
Oh, hello. Just call me Faik, like what you pronounce.
Faik. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Excellent. Good. Thank you for that. So what do you study? What did you
I
study?
study chemical engineering.
Excellent, excellent. So then you will understand my answer to Zaki. An engineer actually can do anything. All right, so management's easy for us engineers because we can do anything, right, Faik? Okay,
Yes.
exactly. So the management part is kind of what I ended up doing, but I really think of myself more as an engineer in terms of mindset and in the way that I approach things. And we might talk about that tonight. I have a lot of materials, and some of the materials might go into some of that if we have time. But the very simple answer, Zaki, is that I really think of myself born and bred as an engineer, and then kind of later on, when I came to Thailand to work, my first job was in a factory. A lot of the challenges were more like logistics and systems and stuff like that, not exactly engineering. So I ended up doing what people call management, but I really think of myself as an engineer. Next question, please.
Okay. So you consider yourself is more than just an engineer, but it's more likely to be a management in a management world, right?
Actually, I don't do any managing. In our company, the one I was just telling you about, Natia is the big boss. She's the managing director. I'm just the vice president. So you have to ask her about management. She's the one who does all the managing.
Okay. So tonight, of course, all of us are expecting a great, principles from you, of course, to be the flame of ourselves in order to build our spirit in order to create a new innovation, whether it's an innovation, whether it's social entrepreneurship or a basic entrepreneurship or any other kind of movement that we could take. So I think without any further ado,
Zaki, you've been turned off. Turn yourself back on, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that in order to, create a flame in ourselves to be more motivated in creating our movement, we wish that your presentation will be the whip for us to create our movement. So yeah, without any further ado, I give the time to you.
Expecting me to whip you tonight and get you inspired. Okay. Interesting challenge. Interesting challenge. Okay, let's get everyone interacting. I want everybody to say something quickly in the chat. Everybody say something. Say your name, say hello, say whatever you want in the chat. Quickly, everybody say something. There we go. There's some hellos.
Is it also for me too?
Yes, of course.
Oh, okay.
You have to do it twice. There we go. Hello, everyone. Hello, Santi. Excellent. So people are awake. Excellent. Good to hear. Why is this meeting in the evening, Zaki? Why aren't we during the day? Do you guys have other things going on during the day?
I think no, even though we're in a quarantine time, because we're still having our own routine and our normal daily activities. So for those who are going to study, so they study at day.
Okay, so people are doing other things during the day. Okay, gotcha. Excellent. Just curious. All right. So let's get started. So what I want to do is I'm going to put up some slides, but we're going to get everybody interacting fairly quickly here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share the screen, right? That's okay, right?
Yeah, it's okay, for sure.
Excellent. All right. So let's put this up. We'll share. All righty. So one of the things I like to say all the time is think big, act small. All right. And this is our contact information. We'll send you these slides so everybody can, if you want to send either Natia or I a message, feel free to use these email addresses. But let's get into this. So if I understand correctly, everybody in this meeting is in the meeting because you have some desire to do something with impact. That's my guess. All right. So let's learn a little bit more about that. So first of all, this is kind of the topics we've laid out for today. First of all, I want to know why you're interested in impact or doing impact. All right. And then kind of the second topic we're going to look at, there's a whole bunch of words that are used all the time in this discussion. Sometimes you hear the word impact or change or innovation or entrepreneurship. So the second thing we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out how these words link together, at least how I think they link together. Everyone has a different opinion. The third thing we're going to spend some time really looking into is about big companies. All right. Now, I'm assuming we're talking to people who want to be entrepreneurial, but before we can become entrepreneurial, we kind of have to understand the opposite. So for me, big companies kind of do things in the opposite way from entrepreneurs. So I want us to discuss a little bit about how big companies do things so that we can understand what our role is as an entrepreneur. And then we'll get to the final message, which is think big, act small. Now there's a little piece in front of that called See Different. The three of them put together, See Different, Think Big, Act Small, but really we shortened it to Think Big, Act Small. So that's kind of what we're doing today. All righty. So with that in mind, we want to hear a little bit about why you're interested in impact. So Dick, do you have the link handy or do you want me to do that? We have a link for you and we're going to drop it in the chat.
I can do that, Ed.
Thank you. So we're going to drop this in the chat. It links to a quick survey, 2-question survey. Let's get it to you. Let me find out what this.
Jadi itu ada link ya teman-teman, silakan diisi. Jadi itu, is that only 2 question, right?
It's yeah. Have you seen it?
Yeah. Jadi
only
2
2
pertanyaan.
Just to get going. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Excellent, good. So if you've got, I'm assuming most people have got it. You got 3 minutes to do this. Quick.
3 menit dari sekarang. Cepet. Yuk diisi yuk. Aku juga buka kok.
Yeah.
Cepet. Yeah. Cepet means hurry up.
I figured that actually.
So while we're waiting for everyone to fill the form, I'd like to know how long have you been in Thailand?
I've been in Thailand almost 30 years, probably longer than you've been in Indonesia.
For sure. I'm 24, moving to 25, and you've been 30 years.
Yep, over half my life now. I moved to Thailand at about your age.
You must be really good at speaking Thai for sure.
Depends who I need to talk to.
All I can say will be ขอบคุณครับ and สวัสดีครับ
Papamanakap.
That's all.
That's pretty good. That's an important one. Excellent. All right, we're getting some results.
Ayo, kurang 1,5 menit lagi teman-teman. Yuk. Oke. Ada 45 ya sekarang. So, Nataya, can you check for me how many people have submitted the answer for you?
5. I can tell you myself, 5.
Okay, 5.
All right.
5. So we have 41. Yeah.
We're not going to go on until everybody is answered. Everybody. That's the
Everybody.
Rule. Everyone has to participate. I should have made you put your names in here. That would have made it easier. Then we know who's not doing it.
Squee, squee, squee.
Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze.
Yeah, we have about 10 submissions right now.
Yeah.
10 out of 40, 41, yeah.
But they're coming in fast now.
Yeah, they're coming in. Yeah.
Lots of range of areas. Dick, can you copy some of the Bahasa responses so that Zaki can help us interpret?
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me do that now.
But overall, we see things in education. Excellent. That's the area we work in clean water and sanitation. Community gardens. I love that idea. Helping housewives.
Is that up yet?
Actually, we don't have your names, but somebody wrote in here that the reason that they want to do it is because they see a lot of social problems. And that's such an important message. If we view things from the point of view of a social entrepreneur, every problem is an opportunity. So there's no shortage of opportunities out there. So we can, I mean, problems are terrible and they put people through some very difficult times, but we can also view that as a source of optimism that we can work on those and solve those. Excellent. Lots of education. Lots of environments and worrying about sanitation. By the way, the other thing I like to emphasize a lot, because a lot of our work is around the region of Southeast Asia, these same challenges, the challenges that you guys are putting in this list are the same challenges in Malaysia and the Philippines and Thailand and Vietnam and Myanmar and Cambodia and Laos. So you have a chance not only, I mean, Indonesia is already a very big country, I understand, but if you're really thinking big or dreaming big, you have the opportunity to go beyond Indonesia even, because these are challenges that face the entire region faces.
So Nataya wrote in Bahasa. Do you want me to translate that?
Please.
Yeah, that's one of the answers that we cannot understand.
Yeah.
So
the first is, I want to be useful for many people with the knowledge I've got. For the second verse is pemberdayaan means empowerment.
Excellent. So first of all, let me emphasize, please feel free to answer in any language. We'll figure out how to do the communication. Don't let language be a barrier ever. So let me ask some more questions about this. And if you're the one who made the answer and you want to explore more or explain more, please do. Pemberdayaan, right? Pemberdayaan. Empowerment.
Yeah.
The person who wrote that, do you have a specific target or specific person or group of people that you want to empower? Zaki, you may want to translate that.
Silakan yang nulis tadi, kalau misalkan kalian yang nulis tadi ya, yang punya jawaban tadi, kalau misalkan kalian ingin menuliskan lebih spesifik apa, silakan ditulis, nanti aku translate. For those who wrote that, if you have a specific concern or specific ideas on that, just write again.
The group of people that you might be wanting to try to empower.
Jadi kelompok siapa nih yang ingin diberdayakan, misalkan masyarakat A atau suku apa, atau misalkan kelompok dari kelas ekonomi apa gitu misalkan. Yuk, siapa yuk yang nulis tadi yuk? Kalau misalkan malu di public, bisa di private chat. Is that okay? If the one who wrote this is kind of shy, they
Sure.
can private chat me.
No problem. Shy is okay. No problem. Not a problem. And while they're private chatting you,
here, someone wrote, it is all about the empowerment of a fisherman.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Very interesting. So I don't know if you guys, so we had sent a video of some of the activities that we work on. I don't know if you played that video, but if you look at that video, one of our speakers from our event last year has created a special fishing net, and it's being used to help fishermen in Indonesia. So I know a lot of people are really trying to work in this area, so it must be a very important problem. So very interesting. I like that challenge, and I appreciate the fact it's a very focused challenge. Excellent. So we've got about 30. Sorry, Zaki.
Yeah. She also wrote that the reason why he chose the fisherman because there's a lack of. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a gap, and also. No. There are a lot of fishermen who didn't enjoy or even feel the result of their hard work. Mm-hmm. But the source or the goodness of our land, of our sea, is very much and precious, very precious, she wrote.
Agree. Actually, I think this is a very interesting challenge. Most of the people, I mean, I'll speak more for Southeast Asia. I've been to Indonesia a couple times, but I don't know Indonesia like you guys do, obviously. But it's unfortunate across the region, most of the people who produce all of the food we eat don't get a chance to benefit from producing that food. It's whether you're a farmer or a fisherman or whoever, you almost always lead a pretty tough life. And I really appreciate anybody who's trying to work in that area. So please send that message along to whoever is writing this message. I agree, it's a very, very important challenge. Okay, so we've got a great list here, and we've learned a little bit about why you're interested in impact. So let's jump into this a little bit. I want us to begin to understand how impact can be created by entrepreneurs, okay? So let's look at the next step. All right, so let me get back to my slides here. So let's start looking at some words. There's words that are used all of the time, and sometimes they're mixed up, okay? People use them different ways. We hear the word impact, we hear the word change or innovation, we hear the word entrepreneurship, and I also want us, before we go too much further, to think about what these three words might mean. Now, I'm going to give you my thoughts afterward, but I want us to get a short discussion going in with these three words. So we've got another link that we'd like you to take a look at. So, Dick, do you have another link there?
The link is already in the chat.
Excellent. So they've got a head start on me. Let me get the timer going.
Ayo, silakan diisi lagi, ada link lagi. Aku juga isi kok, teman-teman. 3 menit. Jadi ada 3 pertanyaan. It's 3 questions.
Yes, one for each word. Impact, innovation, and entrepreneurship. What do those mean?
Ya, pertanyaan 3. Silakan. 3 in Thai would be some.
Correct.
Some, and what's question in Thai?
What's that?
What's question in Thai? Question, the word question.
คำถาม
ถาม
Actually, you know a lot of Thai, Zaki. Have you been to Thailand?
Nope, but I wish.
Well, as soon as we can travel more, you can come visit us.
Yeah, I heard that Thailand is right now, tighten their borders since the COVID-19 cases increasing.
Well, the borders have been closed. We really can't leave without quarantine. But it's kept things under pretty good control. So it was good.
Yeah, I I hope the best. I hope the best for all of us, Indonesia, Thailand, Asian, everywhere.
Okay, let's see how we're doing on this next survey. Okay, so far no answers. Did I send the right link?
There's one answer.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah.
More, two now.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yuk, kurang sedikit lagi. 20 detik. 20 detik, silakan teman-teman. $48. So it's supposed to be around 44 to 45 answers that have been submitted.
So far, so good. We got about 12 now.
12. Ayo teman-teman yang lain yang belum ngisi, silakan ngisi. Masih 12 jawaban loh. Kita di sini ada 48. Kuy. Terima kasih Nur Sofia. Thank you.
Okay, Zaki, you have work to do. Natia is sending you stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, need help with the translation here. So I'm gonna post in the chat, okay? Maybe
Okay.
just send it to you.
Actually, Dick, go ahead and send it on the main chat because a lot of people will translate it directly.
All right,
so
cool.
Make it easier on Zaki. He's been overworked already.
Yeah, so that means, yeah, same word,
Covering.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Kind of verb from empower.
Another one? Yeah.
Being useful.
Okay.
Okay, actually a lot of interesting answers here.
Ya juga bisa helpful, juga bisa. It could be helpful for bermanfaat. Yeah, it could be meaningful also. Yeah, thank you, Yahya. I told you, yeah, guys, yeah, my English is not that good. Yeah, please pardon. Okay, is there more? Okay.
Looking good, looking good.
Yeah, that should be cool. I think we have about 28 responses so far.
That's a good start. Let's continue our discussion then. So please, if you're still answering, feel free to answer because we'll gather all this together. But I want to jump into a business example. So I've asked you guys some questions. I'm not going to tell you the answers. I don't know the answers either, but we'll continue to discuss. But let's try to ask these same questions now in the context of a business. All right. And actually, this time I'm going to show you a business. I think you guys are all going to know this business. I'm not sure. I think you're going to all know this business. And this time, we're not going to send you a survey. This time, you guys just answer in chat. All right, just answer in chat so we can just get lots of answers. Everybody can read the answers that other people put in. So just jump in and answer as quickly as you can, and don't worry about what other people have written, or if you see something interesting, add to it, however you want to do it. But basically, we're not going to send a survey this time. It's just going to be a massive chat in the main chat room. Okay. So first of all, here Alfamart. I think you guys know what Alfamart is, right? Is this a famous business in Indonesia?
Yes.
Top two, the most famous
Convenience store.
Yeah, top two. I know it. I think it's number two, right? So I chose Alfamart for a couple of reasons, but really the question I want to ask now is, you know, we all know Alfamart, all right? Now let's imagine, okay, now what I'm doing here, I understand Alfamart already exists, although it didn't exist 10 years ago. My understanding it's only been around 10 or 12 years. It was founded 10 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. Okay, so I want us to imagine, we're going to use Alfamart as an example to kind of think through what an opportunity looks like. All right, we're not really talking about innovation yet. We're not even talking about impact. We're just talking about opportunity. All right, and the reason I use a company like Alfamart is because everybody knows it, right? So if we use another company, even a company like Google or Apple, we each have our own different views of that. But Alfamart is so widespread, that we all have, all of us except me and probably Nadia, have a pretty good idea what it is. So when I look at a new opportunity, in my mind, what I'm trying to do is bring together 4 different things. All right. And that's going to be on the next slide. 4 different things. All right. So first of all, and I believe this is true for any opportunity, when we bring together a new opportunity, we're trying to find a group of people who have a problem. And this is why I was asking about empowerment, because I never ever want to know only the problem. I want to know the people and the problem together. So people and problem, and then we're going to provide some sort of solution. And for this example, Alfamart provides the solution, okay? And then we need some resources and capabilities to be able to deliver that solution. All right? So this is what I believe is necessary for creating any opportunity. So in the case of Alphamart, we're going to do Alphamart first, and then we'll talk about more about impact opportunity afterward. But I want us to all visualize an opportunity like Alphamart, all right? So first of all, and I want you guys just start typing in the chat right now, who are the people that Alphamart is trying to take care of? Who are the people? If you were trying to fill in this upper left-hand corner, who are those people? That's my first question for you.
Jadi silakan teman-teman chat ya di room chat. Silakan menurut teman-teman siapa sih orang-orang atau kelompok yang Alfamart coba untuk layani seperti itu, untuk layani atau untuk di service atau ya intinya seperti itulah. Pokoknya siapa nih target marketnya si Alfamart ini menurut teman-teman.
And by the way, feel free to answer in Bahasa, and we'll figure out how to get it translated. Okay. Okay. So these are some interesting explanations so far. People are in our neighborhood. People at a certain economic level. People who need goods in our neighborhood. Can we be more specific? Housewife, children, teenager.
Ada yang bisa lebih spesifik lagi, misalkan?
So none of you guys ever go to Alphamart. Are you guys all housewives and teenagers? Maybe you're all teenagers. I don't know.
Household wife. So maybe some of you are wives. Maybe all of you are wives.
Housewives must be the most busy people at Alphamart. Travelers, okay.
Travelers, yeah.
Okay, so we got some people here. Let's change the question. Let's go to the next box. What problem? Oh, any customer who needs daily goods. Somebody who wants convenience. Okay, interesting. Let's go to the problem. What problem does Alphamart solve? What problem for people does Alphamart solve?
Pertanyaan selanjutnya adalah permasalahan apa yang Alfamart coba untuk pecahkan di sini dari orang-orang itu ya?
Okay, I agree with. Yeah, that people don't have. I agree with that. Okay, a little cleaner than traditional shops makes sense. Let's be specific. What does daily needs mean?
Okay.
Daily needs. What does that mean? Okay, so they solve a problem of a location.
Here, Randy Satya says it's antri plus sumu. Antri means a kiwi or entry, yeah, and sumu means it's quite hot.
Okay. What does that mean?
Hot means just like the summer.
No, I know it's hot, but I mean, what's the problem that's being solved? You mean they can go in and cool down?
Oh, so maybe he tried to conclude it's all about the inconvenience.
Yeah. So I agree. I agree with the message, but I want us to learn to get even more specific when we're describing a problem, okay? So these are good. These are good, okay? So Atia wrote, it has AC. Is that a problem? Okay. Now I know it's not a problem. What's the problem that's being solved by having AC?
Jadi lebih fokus ke permasalahannya ya teman-teman, bukan apa yang dipunyai oleh Alfamart, right?
Okay.
So we want to focus on the problem of Alfamart want to solve, not something that Alfamart already provided.
Yeah, so Artia has adjusted it. Yes, because Indo is hot. I know. I live in Thailand. It is also hot. Okay. The one thing I want to emphasize, it's important that we don't mix up problems and solutions. So we will talk about a solution box in a minute. It's true. Alphamart has air conditioning to solve our problem that we're hot. When we come in, we can cool down. Okay. But the problem we have is we are hot, or the weather is hot and we're hot and we want to cool down. And the solution that Alphamart provides is they have stores with air conditioning. Okay. I think you'll see in a minute why we want to make sure we separate these things. Okay. I see a lot of people writing convenience.
Yep.
So Zaki, just ask the question. Don't answer this question. Ask this question. What does convenience mean?
Ya. Jadi tolong dong teman-teman jabarkan apa sih artinya kenyamanan itu, atau mungkin apa sih yang kalian rasakan, atau hal apa yang menurut kalian itu berkaitan dengan kenyamanan dan ketidaknyamanan. Menurut kalian apa sih nyaman itu?
But I like, is it Pia or Paya? Pia?
Yeah.
Pia, very good answer here. The problem is the distance to the supermarket or traditional market, okay? That's interesting, okay? Does that have anything to do with convenience? A long distance to a supermarket is the problem, and the Alphamart is closer to us than the supermarket? Ah, see, we could say convenience, but when we say convenience, it's not clear what we mean. But if we say the problem is the supermarket's too far away, that's a very clear problem. Pia, I like the way you wrote this, okay? Thank you, Pia. She provides the...
Shout out to Pia.
But also explaining how I can pronounce it, Pia, great. Also, we choose for ourselves. This is a great message as well, right? Is this convenience? Could be. Some people might call this convenience. So when we use this word convenience, it's a very broad word that for me means nothing. But when we say, closer than the supermarket, that makes sense. Payment method, all right? This is from Andalina. I'm making a guess here that what Andalina means is that there are more payment methods available at Alphamart, because I know they have ATMs and they have all kinds of e-wallets and stuff like that we wouldn't have at a traditional market. Okay? That's also a form of convenience. And these are the details that we want to be very specific about. Okay, now I know we're just talking about Alphamart here. But when we talk about impact and innovation, it's important that we're very, very clear of the impact that we're trying to create. So I always use a mini mart as an example because we all know what it is, but we also sometimes get stuck and write these general words. I mean, it's better to be much more specific, okay? So Pia is talking about dirty premises, less secure premises. I imagine that's the traditional retailers, okay? And so these are some of the problems that we're trying to work around or trying to solve for people. What else does convenience mean? So we've talked about convenience from the point of view, it's a shorter distance, it's cleaner, we can choose more payment options, we can make our own selections about what we want. What else does convenience mean? What else does convenience mean?
There's a comment from Yasmin, which I like. Convenience, assurance, safe, and standard.
Okay, standard. Standard's an interesting, both safe and standard are interesting, but let's talk about standard for a second. What does standard mean? Yasmin, if you want to turn your microphone on and tell us, you can, or if you're shy, you can type it in. But what do we mean by standard, and why is that valuable? Or why is lack of standard sometimes not valuable? Why is a lack of standard sometimes a problem?
Yasmin, silakan kalau misalkan mau open mic, boleh. Yasmin, yes. Yasmin, hello.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Edward. Standards means I feel like in traditional market doesn't have a fixed price, like Lutfiana Kusuma said. And when we, as a customer, when they serve us with no standard, we just not very secure when we are paying our goods, and is this goods the price I supposed to pay for them, just like that.
Okay,
And
I agree with you. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way. I'm more trying to bring up how we describe problems and describe value better. So when I ask a question, it doesn't mean I'm disagreeing. It means I'm just trying to get us to more specific. So Latviana, did I pronounce your name right? You said something very similar. Is Lutfiana or Latviana? You said the problem is the traditional market doesn't have a fixed price, which is kind of a similar problem that we just saw with Yasmin. But let me ask a question. Let me ask a question for both of you, or either of you, whoever wants to answer. Is the fact that a traditional market doesn't have a fixed price, is that always a problem? Is that always a problem?
Silakan yang mau
I
jawab.
think not always the problem, but they don't. Everyone in traditional market is a very perfect market, so everyone can serve with their own way. But sometimes customer needs standard that very what I can say more, because traditional market maybe give the bad goods because they are not have a standard.
Okay, again, I agree with you, but I want us to understand that value, when we talk about value, and this becomes even more true when we talk about impact value, but when we talk about value, value, it's not always as clear as it seems. So let me ask a couple of other people who are also saying similar things, and please feel free to answer with your mic if you're comfortable doing so. So I see Andalina and Pia so Pia is saying sometimes it's a good thing in the traditional market because it means you can bargain. So tell me, is that valuable, Pia, being able to bargain? Why is that valuable, being able to bargain?
Ya, Pia.
Yes, hello. Hi, Edward.
Hello. Is this Pia?
Yeah, yes, it's me. I'm here. Sorry, I don't turn on my video.
No problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. It sometimes comes again to individuals' perspective, whether or not like a fixed price would become a good thing or not, because sometimes you could even get a cheaper price at a traditional market because you could actually do bargaining with the seller.
Okay.
So that
let
comes
me just
as
jump
a
in
valuable.
here. Pia, let me jump in for 1 second, and then I'll let you continue. I see Latviana is continuing on the other side. For her, she would rather buy something without any bargaining. Great. This is an important point. We're all different, okay? So some people would prefer to have it without bargaining. But Pia, keep telling us, why is it sometimes better to bargain, or why might bargaining be more valuable?
Yeah. And it comes again to the community's value. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to mention, but like value and perspective. That's why sometimes it's really good for you to dig deeper. What's the common value, or like what's the common perspective of the people that we are targeting, or like the beneficiaries, or yeah, whatever you call it, like, you know, the target groups that you are aiming. Like, it's important to have that understanding. What's valuable or what's not valuable for them.
Okay, great. Let me ask a further question. I'm going to ask Pia directly, but anyone else can feel free to answer. Okay, so Pia said maybe we can bargain and get a better price through bargaining. Okay, maybe. Is that the only value we get from bargaining? Because let's face it, the person selling knows more than us. Correct? Yeah. The person selling knows more than us. So can we really get a better bargain? What are some other values that we might get from being able to bargain?
You,
I don't know, like probably when you could actually have a good price, and whenever you come around again, you could already establish a relationship with the merchant.
Relationship, a relationship, right? I mean,
Yeah.
We've all been to markets, and the bargaining is part of the fun. It's a social interaction, right? So let's just recognize, and by the way, I'm not choosing one over the other. Like Fiona, I go to mini marts all the time because I need something quickly. I want the certainty of knowing exactly what I want. I want the certainty of the time that I know I'm going to be in the store for 5 minutes and get back out because I have to go back to a meeting or go to teach or whatever. So sometimes I need the mini mart, but sometimes it's fun to bargain back and forth, and there's a social aspect. And the main reason I'm raising this example for everyone is not to say that one answer is right and the other answer is wrong, but when it comes to impact, there's many, many different viewpoints, even for something simple like this issue between a mini mart and a traditional market, okay? So I just want us to keep that in mind, just on the topic of bargaining, how many different kinds of value there may be, including what Pia added there at the end. You know, so my wife is Thai, and we go to markets all the time, okay? And she will walk in the market and go straight to the person who she buys from, and she says, they have the best. And I look around, there are 20 other people selling all the same stuff to me. This is me thinking. And there are a whole bunch of other Thai people buying from those other people. So I'm thinking, how do we know this is the best, okay? Because everything looks similar, and there's a whole bunch of people buying from everyone. Well, in reality, what we find out, if we're being kind of objective here, is that the value of that experience is more than just the product, okay? It's the whole interaction, it's the social interaction, it's buying from somebody we know, that we see regularly. We may ask them about their family, they may ask us about our family, or whatever, okay? So I just want us to, I'm just picking on this one example just for a second. We're going to continue on in a minute, but I want us to recognize value and therefore impact is very, very complex. And we want to recognize it's complex because that's our opportunity, especially when we get into talking about entrepreneurship. Because it's true, mini marts and most big businesses are standardizing things. And standardizing means not much room for relationships and humans and stuff like that. So, you know, we gain that certainty and that convenience that Fiona is looking for, and I am looking for many, many times when I don't have much time, and what some of the rest of us were saying when we want to go into an environment which is quick and safe and secure, but we also give up something for that as well. We give up some fun and some excitement, and let's face it, sometimes it's exciting to have a risk, right? If everything had no risk, life would be pretty boring, okay? So just one of the messages here is don't automatically assume every value is correct or is valuable all the time. It depends on the person, it depends on the situation, okay? So problems are very, very interesting things to look at. So let's continue on. Let's look at the solution, okay? Now again, we're talking about Alphamart here, okay? And Alphamart is solving some problems for some people that we've been discussing. What does Alphamart do? What I mean is, what is their solution that that they do in order to solve this problem for these people? What is the Alphamart solution? All right. Again, let's jump in and start writing some messages. What do you guys think the solution is? For example, one answer right away. They've got stores with air conditioning. That solves one problem about us being hot. What else does Alphamart do in their solution to deliver something that solves our problems? Tell me what they are.
Kuy.
Quickly.
Jadi apa nih teman-teman yang dilakukan oleh Alfamart setelah mereka tahu target grup mereka itu siapa, kemudian programnya itu apa. Nah, sekarang solusi yang diberikan oleh Alfamart itu apa aja nih? Silakan di kolom chat ya.
Okay, great. One thing they do is they offer a range of payment methods, including like an e-wallet. Excellent. That's certainly one thing they do as part of their solution. What else do they do? Many outlets. What's so great about many outlets, Riza? Near the house, exactly. Zaidan, what makes it easy to shop? What part of the solution makes it easy to shop? Okay, great. So one thing that that Zaidan might mean, when I read make it easy to shop, one thing that I know that is easy to shop in a mini mart like Alphamart is everything is in the same place in every store, right? We know where the snacks are. We know where the beverages are. We know where the ice cream is. We know where the microwave oven is, right? The layout of the stores are fairly consistent. Why? Well, we want to be able to know exactly where to go. When we don't have much time, we know exactly when we go into the store, we know exactly where we need to go to get what we want, okay? A lot of facilities, great. Buying tickets, train, pay the TV, excellent. Provide service to their employees, okay, and CCTV for safety. I don't know if that's for our safety or for their safety, but it does create safety. Okay. Okay, so these are a lot of things that they do, but let's look beyond the store. There's a whole bunch of other things in the solution that Alphamart needs to do to create this stuff. What else does Alphamart do? All right, we're doing a good job about thinking what's in the store, but let's think much bigger. There's more than going on than just what's in the store in order to create this solution. Morwani, you say creative staff. How are their staff creative?
Does having an annual sales is also part of solution?
It might be. What do you think?
I think it's kind of, in one side, it could be one of the solution for those who think that shopping is all about the price.
Okay.
Because Alphamart is, make it annual, so there will always be a sales for a certain product in a certain period of time.
Okay. So it draws people in. Who's the value for in that case?
So we could get a cheaper price.
Okay, value for us, also value for them, right? They expect us to, they think that we'll buy more when we go in the store. We go for the cheap thing, but we may buy a few other things. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe.
Let me think more.
Zaidan says, providing whatever society needs. Wow, Alphamart does some amazing things. Whatever society needs. That's quite a statement. You must really like Alphamart. Okay, so we've got a good feel for the solution, but what about a logistics system? Right? In order, so I want us to make sure we think bigger, okay? So Oppo F5 6 gigabyte, that's a very good name, okay, is talking about the fact that they build many, many branches located near each other. So there's always one a short distance from my house. Great. Well, to make sure those many branches all have products, Alphamart also needs a logistics system, right? They need to have trucks and warehouses and refrigerators inside the store to store things. So there's a whole bunch of things that we may not think of, but they're part of the solution that Alphamart is creating, all of this distribution infrastructure. Okay? Zaki, do you want to explain that?
Which part?
Well, if you just want to explain that there's also a distribution system that reaches all of these stores.
Oh,
Trucks
yeah.
and warehouses and stuff like that.
Jadi teman-teman, kan Alfamart ini kalau mereka bikin branch baru atau cabang baru, itu kan mereka juga harus mempersiapkan lebih banyak persiapan kan, kayak misalnya gudang, terus kulkas tempat mereka mendinginkan barang-barang, kemudian pokoknya persiapan yang bersifat logistik lah, seperti itu. Itu kayak gitu teman-teman. Ada nggak yang punya opini tentang itu, yang mengarah ke sana?
Okay, and in addition to the logistics system, there's a couple of other things that Alphamart has done. Okay. For example, they put equipment in all their stores. So they have refrigerators that keep cold stuff cold, so that when we drink it, we want to have cold. They have microwave ovens so that we can eat some stuff hot. Every store has a specific set of equipment in it so that we know exactly we can eat the cold stuff that we want cold and the hot stuff we want hot. Okay? Now you're going to see why I'm emphasizing this. You guys are probably asking yourselves at this point, why are we spending so much time on Alphamart? Well, we're going to get to that in a minute. Another interesting point here. They have a franchise system. What's the value of the franchise system, Miss Oppo or Mr. Oppo or Faik? What's the value of the franchise system?
Kak Faik, silakan. Apa nih yang bisa kita petik dari franchise system ini apa?
I agree. Good idea. How about the franchise system?
I think the franchise system built such kind of system or any kind of operation or something, supply chain itself, so that it can be replicated in several places that are going to be made in, I don't know, in another.
Okay. So this is very interesting. So a franchise system is very interesting because it creates many different types of value. So first of all, for Alphamart itself and the family who owns Alphamart, it helps it makes other people invest. So they don't have to invest everything themselves. So that's one part of value. So value for the original owners. But there's another form of value as well, and that is they don't have to find the best locations. Right? So somebody may know in the local neighborhood, a local community, a good place for a mini mart. So they go and say, I want to put a mini mart there. I will create a franchise. I'll get an Alphamart franchise because I know this is a good place for a franchise. So it helps identify good places or good opportunities for Alphamart. It also creates opportunities for the person who wants to open an Alphamart. They have a business opportunity. And that leads to another value that Alphamart creates, and that is a brand. Okay? So when we go down the street, streets in Indonesia are very, very similar to streets in Bangkok or the rest of Thailand, and that is lots of excitement going on, lots of people moving around, lots of vehicles. And then you see this very clear, very bright, very easy to understand sign that says Alphamart. You know exactly what you're going to get there. Okay, so that brand is a very powerful message to tell us exactly what we are looking for. That brand is valuable to us when we have no time and we need to get something to eat quickly, or something to drink quickly, or we're hot and we want to cool down, or we need money. We see that sign, we know that they can help us. So that brand is helpful to us as a customer. If we want to open a new business, one thing we can do is open a franchise, like a couple of people have said, and we can put the Alphamart sign on our store, and immediately customers know what we do. Okay, so I just want us to understand, when we talk about the solution here, the solution covers a wide range of things. All right, logistics and marketing and brand, the computer system, all of these things are all built in to serve all of these stores. And you're going to see in a minute why this is important. We're not just trying to become Alpha Mart experts tonight. We're going to talk about how this applies to innovation. So let me move on and make an example to this. So before we leave Alpha Mart, let me ask another question for you guys. All right. So what innovations, and we're going to just take a couple minutes, what innovations have you seen at an Alpha Mart store? Does Alpha Mart ever do anything innovative? That's my question for you. And if you think they've done something innovative that you can think of, quickly type it in the chat. What does Alpha Mart do that you think has been innovative? And this is going to help us use our words that we talked about earlier. What does the word innovation mean? All right. So what do you think? What have you seen in an Alpha Mart store that you think is innovative? Okay, great. Payment methods, open 24 hours. External food stalls selling in front. Great. Membership. What else?
Yang lain, jadi kalau kalian melihat bahwa Alfamart ini punya inovasi, kalau kalian setuju, maka menurut kalian inovasi itu apa? Inovasi dari Alfamart itu apa, gitu kan? Terus kasih dong apa aja menurut kalian inovasi-inovasi yang udah diberikan oleh Alfamart itu sendiri.
What about new products? Any new products at Alpha Mart? Ever? They're making bread and coffee now? Great. Faik, what's an example of a new product you've seen at Alpha Mart besides bread and coffee? Okay, great. Sausage snacks, ticket payment online, excellent. So these are all things that have been added to Alpha Mart. They're all examples of innovation. So let's go to the next slide now. My next question for you. Does Alpha Mart create impact? Are there any examples of impact that you think Alpha Mart creates? Artia is talking about healthy tools. That's interesting.
Jadi sekarang pertanyaannya adalah apakah Alfamart itu memberi sebuah impact? Silahkan. Kalau misalkan kalian berpikir kalau Alfamart itu memberi impact bagi kita semua, apa? Impact-nya itu apa? Gitu.
Iya bro. Iya bro. What is iya bro, Zaki?
Yeah bro mean yeah bro. Yes bro.
Yeah bro, okay. Makes sense.
So maybe he thought that it was a yes or no question.
Okay. So give me an example. What Ah, Pia, good point. Not all impact is positive, right? It causes some negative impact as well. How about for the employees? Is it a better place to work than other options? Does it create jobs?
Bisa tuh teman-teman, kalau kalian tarik lebih jauh lagi, apakah impact seperti misalkan bikin lahan pekerjaan, kemudian atau mungkin perspektif mungkin bikin limbah mungkin ya mungkin gitu. Apa tuh? Yuk kita perluas point of view-nya.
Okay, they're recruiting, they're creating jobs, and it's also a good place to work. If nothing else, you're working in an air-conditioned location, you have a uniform, you get a little dignity for the job compared to somewhere else that you're working for. Okay, so what I want us to understand is we've been talking about Alphamart a lot, but Alphamart creates a lot of innovation and they create a lot of impact. Now, what we want to understand, this goes back to our early question, what does that mean? So let's look at the next slide, all right? So what are Alphamart's innovations and impacts like? Well, okay, and this slide that I'm showing you right now is meant to be kind of a summary or an explanation. Oh, I like this one from Risa, a place for businesses to introduce their products. I think I know what you mean there, in that entrepreneurs can come up with new products and maybe Alphamart will sell them. Also great impact and great for entrepreneurs for a while. Sometimes Alphamart ends up competing against those entrepreneurs later once their products are successful, but it's a great place to start. I agree. So a big company like Alphamart, what are their innovations and their impact like? Well, first of all, we need to recognize they build on an existing group of customers. This is the nature of big company innovation, and it's the nature of big company impact. The needs, meaning the problem we talked about earlier, if you want to go back right here, this and this are fairly well known for big companies. All right, they're already taking care of this. So this is pretty clear. This people and problem thing is pretty clear. All right. So the needs of people are mostly understood. So if we're going to do something new, this is the idea of innovation, or if we're going to create a new form of value, it's usually a smaller amount of new or a smaller amount of impact, but it's times lots of people. Okay, it's very important that we understand this as entrepreneurs. I'm assuming that everyone I'm talking to is an entrepreneur. All right, it's very important we understand what big companies do well and what we as entrepreneurs do well, because there are things that as entrepreneurs we can do things that a big company cannot do. You need to understand that. A lot of entrepreneurs, not a lot, some entrepreneurs are afraid of big companies. Don't be. There are things that big companies cannot do. What big companies do very, very well are things that are large quantity, okay? So when a big company innovates, or even when a big company creates impact, it's usually small steps, what we call incremental innovation, small improvement, but times lots of people. Times lots of people. Think of this. Let's say you work for Alphamart and your job is to come up with a new innovation. It's actually hard. It's a very difficult challenge because it needs to be something that works in 10,000 stores, right? If you're going to make something new for Alphamart, You need to create something new that works for 10,000 stores. That means it needs to fit in your standard truck. It needs to fit on the shelf. It needs to be understood by your existing customers. It needs to be able to be managed by your existing staff. All right? So Alphamart is probably not going to suddenly start making pizza. Okay? At least not pizza from dough, right? They may sell pieces that they put in a microwave, but they're not going to create food that is completely fresh. They don't have the kitchen, they don't have the equipment, and their staff are not trained to do that kind of stuff. So your challenge, if you work for Alphamart, is to figure out how to make a small innovation, but it has to work for 1 million people or more, maybe 10 million people. Okay? That's the challenge. So when you come up with a new flavor or a new fragrance, that's the way something smells, or you might come up with a new color of something, or a new size, or new packaging, or even new services, but the services need to add on to your existing system. So I would look at the list that you guys have written tonight, all of the innovations and impact that Alphamart pay bills, buy airline tickets, buy concert tickets. That's all the same. When you think about it, all you need is a computer system. And Alphamart already has that computer system. They have the computer system to manage all of their stuff. And then it's easy to add on to that computer system to pay your electricity bill or your water bill or buy a ticket for a train or for a plane. Okay? So all of these things that are innovations for Alphamart need to work in the existing system. This is why we spent a lot of time talking about this tonight. Entrepreneurs do the exact opposite, all right? So what we call this, when we are a big company, we call this think big and act big. You need to come up with big ideas, but they need to work on a big scale. They need to fit in our system. It needs to work for 1 million people, 10 million people, 100 million people. Otherwise, we're not going to do it. Okay? So it's very, very important we understand our role, because some people, it's easy to get scared of big companies, but when we realize what big companies are good at and what they're not good at, we can find our role as an entrepreneur. All right? So let's look at another situation, which I actually call think small, act small. All right? These are what might be called SMEs, okay? Some SMEs, okay? This isn't every SME, but given a choice, if you were given a choice, which business, and again, just type it in the chat. If you were given a choice, which of these businesses would you prefer to be the owner of? Would you prefer to own your own, what we call mom and pop mini mart, like it's your own name, mini mart? Or would you prefer to have a mini mart franchise from Alphamart? Or would you prefer to be running a coffee shop? Which business would you rather have and why? Explain why. So quickly type your answer and explain why you would like that choice.
Oke, jadi sekarang pertanyaannya adalah bisnis apa nih yang menurut teman-teman lebih kalian prioritaskan atau lebih condong untuk kalian lakukan kayak gitu. But before everyone answering your question, I would like to confirm once more that it's already 8:51, which means more than our time. So is it okay for you, Ed, to continue the presentation?
Well, are people going to stay or are they going to go?
teman-teman mau tetap stay kan? Pasti, for sure, of course.
Okay. What time are we finishing?
In our schedule, it's supposed to be conclusion at 9, but if we want to extend more time, then it will be okay. Maybe we can
9:30.
around 30 minutes.
My plan was for 9:30, so that's a
It's okay.
plan for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm happy to go beyond that if people want to continue. But 9:30 was the plan. Okay, so let's keep going. Which one would we prefer? Would we prefer to own our own mom and pop mini mart, a franchise from Alpha Mart, or a coffee shop?
Yuk, silakan pilih, teman-teman. Mom and Pop Mini Mart atau mini mart yang dari franchise-nya Alfamart, atau yang terakhir coffee shop. Kayaknya sekarang mungkin lebih banyak coffee shop deh kayaknya, karena kan lagi ngetren ya coffee shop ya di Indonesia ya. Itu udah banyak banget tuh coffee shop tuh.
Alfamart's coffee is not good.
Not so good.
Okay, so we have a range here. So let me ask a question. I'm going to ask for all three of these. We're going to go one by one. So somebody who chose that they would prefer a mom and pop mini mart, tell us why. You can either answer or you can type it into the chat, but why do you prefer a mom and pop mini mart over the other two choices? Coffee shop means you jump into red ocean. Cecilia has an interesting comment. Mom and pop is not red ocean, Cecilia? I'm interested in that. Cecilia, can you answer? Do you mind turning on your microphone? I like your comment.
Yeah, in Jakarta especially, coffee shop is really like you jump into a red ocean, because there is coffee shop little in 100 meters you can find any small coffee shop. So yeah.
Yep, I agree. Same in Thailand.
Yeah.
Mom and pop is not red ocean?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Same.
Interesting. Great. Any other mom and pop people? Why do you like mom and pop? Let's find some other mom and pop people. Mustafa, answer us. You can answer in Bahasa and Zaki will translate.
Yeah.
Mustafa, where are you?
Ayo, yang mau jawab silakan.
So let's go on to a different one, and let's move on to the franchise, because we have Faik here saying a mini mart franchise from Alpha Mart. All right, Faik, why do you like that?
All right. Why I choose this mini mart franchise? I think it is only more simple, and I don't need to think about branding itself, about the supply chain system, about any kind of thing, about the employee itself. So if I have the money, I just need to invest, and it's all okay. It's all running, and I don't need to bother either whether it is going to be successful or not, because everybody has thought about itself. So I think it is more simple than mom and pop mart and coffee shop itself.
Okay, I agree with all that. Let's find a coffee person. Fadil, you said coffee shop, and so did Wayudi and any other coffee shop people. Andalina, there's some coffee shop people. Why do you guys like the coffee shop idea? Nia, lots of coffee shop. Why do you guys like coffee shops? Piat, also a coffee shop. What do you
Hello,
think of
Reza
coffee
here.
shop?
Yes, I think coffee shop first bigger margin, yeah. First bigger
Okay.
margin, and the second, we can get loyal customer in coffee shop. So I think it's prospect, yeah, for coffee shop.
Okay, but Faik thinks she's going to get loyal customers because she already has the Alpha Mart brands. Who's correct? Are you correct or is Faik correct?
I don't know, but from my perspective, I think when we go to the coffee shop, if a product is not good enough, it will be the trust from the Alphamart. Yeah,
Okay.
you can develop the coffee shop and then you get more benefits.
So I'm not sure if there was a problem between Indonesia and Thailand, but I didn't hear the whole message. But I know that you like Alphamart because everything is done for you. They give you the brand, they give you the store. So what's the downside? What's the disadvantage of Alphamart doing all that for you? And in fact, the guy, I didn't catch his name, but the guy who liked the coffee shop gave you a hint. What's the disadvantage of if Alphamart is doing all that stuff for you, what's the disadvantage to you?
I think maybe the benefit that I will get is only at that certain amount, and I think it cannot be more improved. Yeah.
Okay.
And there is no, maybe I cannot innovate more than what I can do
Right.
when I have the coffee shop.
Yeah, so this is a very good point. So you cannot do anything in a franchise system. You have to follow the rules. And since they are giving you everything, they take most of the margin. So the choices of these three depend a little bit on your mindset. The Mini Mart franchise is the lower risk, at least from the point of view of getting customers. Like Faik says, and like many people have said in the chat, you will get customers immediately because everybody knows Alphamart. But the problem is Alphamart controls all of that. You cannot change anything. Even if you have a great idea, you cannot do it. You have to follow the Alphamart system. All right? And because of all that, you get a very small margin. The guy who spoke a few minutes ago, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, talked about the coffee shop. Potentially, no guarantee, potentially you can get a much higher margin, especially if you're making better coffee. Somebody, I think Pia said earlier, Alphamart has very bad coffee. If I eat, your coffee is bad. Your coffee is bad. Go to a coffee shop instead. Okay? But there's some other things as well, and that is in a coffee shop, we have the potential to come up with lots of new ideas, right? So there are lots of coffee shops in Indonesia. I agree. There's lots of coffee shops in Thailand, but there's a small number that do much better than everyone else because they have the opportunity to innovate, to come up with new ideas. Okay. So it's not for everybody, but if you find yourself creative, you might find that a coffee shop, as an example, I'm using it only as an example here, look for opportunities to innovate. All right. So if we're comparing here, one of the challenges most SMEs have, and this is what I call think small and act small, is really they only do what big companies don't want to do. So if you chose the mom and pop shop, I agree with you. It's nice. You're selling products that everybody needs. But as soon as your mom and pop shop becomes successful, what will happen? What will happen as soon as you have a successful mom and pop store? Mustafa and Umu and Yaya, what happens as soon as your personal mom and pop store becomes successful? What happens?
Ayo, yang tadi udah milih mom and pop, terus kemudian kalau misalkan mereka udah sukses, apa nih yang akan terjadi mom and popnya ini? Yuk, yang tadi milih mom and pop, silakan.
Yeah, well, as soon as you're successful, Faik is going to come and open an Alphamart across the street from you, because now she knows that you have a good place to have a mini mart.
Nanti katanya kalau mom and popnya udah sukses, nanti masih ada tantangan Alfamartnya nanti bukan di depan atau coffee shopnya bukan di depan gitu kan.
So this is one of the challenges. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is one of the challenges that we see with a lot of normal businesses that are not willing to innovate. Most of what they're doing is simply something that a big company right now doesn't want to do because it's too small. If you manage to build it up, they just take it. So you need to look for opportunities where the big company can't work. All right. Look for innovation opportunities that a big company cannot do. And that's what we want to talk about now. Okay. And this is what I mean by think big, act small. So let's look at this next step. All right. So for entrepreneurs, not for big companies, but for entrepreneurs, our opportunity is to see different. But what I'm really going to emphasize tonight is think big, act small. Let's take a look at what this means. First of all, I want to ask everyone, what is an entrepreneur? And I asked this question already in the survey at the beginning, but now I want to give a little bit of an answer. Normally, I don't like to give answers, okay? I think it's more valuable to stimulate questions. But in this case, I'm going to give you a little bit of an answer because the word entrepreneur has a very important meaning. So entre, if you look up entre in Google, okay, and you say, what does entre mean? You will find out, actually, why don't you guys tell me? Somebody guess, what does entre mean? Put it in, type the message in. What does entre mean? E-N-T-R-E in French. You might have to search E-N-T-R-E in French. You can see Natia's question, and you may have to say, what does it mean in French? Because it's actually a French word originally. What does entre mean in French? Zaki is concentrating hard, so it looks like he is Googling something, or he's talking to his girlfriend on Facebook. I'm not sure.
No, I'm also looking for the answers.
Also looking.
I'm Googling. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Pia, very good. Between. Okay. So Pia has written between, but she's written with a question mark, meaning she's not exactly sure, but in fact, she is exactly correct. Andalina also between. Well, this is a weird thing. I don't remember any of you in the survey saying anything about between. What does entrepreneurship have to do with between? Very interesting question. Well, the answer is between is the way that entrepreneurs, this is new info to be honest. Great, I'm glad you're being honest, Pia. Okay, between needs and ends. Exactly, all right, we're getting there. The entrepreneur is the person in between, all right? This is the way entrepreneurs innovate. And I don't mean in between like a middleman in the case of Alphamart. I'm talking about two different types of people that would not normally talk together for whatever reason. So let's look at this as an example. First of all, I've got this on the slide, the next slide. So let me get the next slide up here first. So entre means between, and prendra, which is the other part of the word, means to take. So it literally means to take from between. So it's the person who comes between two things. So if you remember, you guys have all heard of Steve Jobs, and there's a story that Steve Jobs came up with this Macintosh, which was, had icons and little pictures and stuff like that. Basically, he positioned himself between computer programmers and designers. This is a long time ago. Okay, you guys are all young people, but back when I was a kid, computers were only about data. They didn't look good. They didn't have any design. They didn't have any UI or UX. That's all new stuff. Okay, back then it was all about data, and nothing looked good on the screen. You're only interested in data. You're interested in code. You're interested in processing, and somewhere else there were designers designing things that looked good on paper, and they were making posters and TV shows and stuff like that. And to be honest, this is not a true story, but Steve Jobs gets the credit for being in between technology and art and bringing them together. And that is the role of an entrepreneur, to be in between two groups of people that would not normally talk. Computer programmers in the past, computer programmers did not talk with designers. Computer programmers are scared of humans. Designers are supposed to be working with humans, so they don't talk to each other. All right? This is where it becomes important when we're talking about impact. For those of you who want to help fishermen or farmers or communities or women or other groups that need empowerment, you are in between their problem and somebody else who has the ability to come up with a solution, and you find a way to bring them together. Many times, the person who has that solution doesn't know who to help. They're a researcher, right? They've created a technology in a laboratory, whether it's a scientific laboratory or any other kind of laboratory. They've created a technology, but they don't know how to help people with that technology. Somebody else knows the problem in the village, in the community, but they know nothing about technology. The entrepreneur goes in between and brings these together. So for those of you who want to help fishermen, you can help fishermen by linking them to mobile phones or to technology. But the fishermen don't know the technology, and the technology people know nothing about fishing. It requires an entrepreneur to come in between and bring the two together. So the message here is big companies don't innovate that way, right? We spent a lot of time tonight talking about Alphamart. Alphamart already has all this, and their innovations are small steps times 1 million people. The entrepreneur is the person who comes in between these two groups, and the entrepreneur has to start with one person. This is why big companies cannot do it. There's no way a big company is going to work to help one person. But an entrepreneur always starts with one person, and then does 2 people, and then does 3 people, and then does 4 people. It literally starts at that level. And then eventually you get to a point when you're helping 10 people or 20 people or 30 people that you can begin to take bigger steps. But this is the main difference between entrepreneurial innovation and big company innovation. Okay? So I put this in Thai as well, because one of my favorite words in Thai, I don't know how it translates in Indonesia. You guys can tell me. But in Thai, the word is Pu Prakop Gan. And Prakop. Pu means person, okay? Person who. But the key word here, Prakop, means assemble. The person who assembles things together, okay? So it's a great word, okay? So both, at least in French and in Thai, it's this idea of bringing things together that nobody else would see the opportunity for. This is the way entrepreneurs innovate. And it's very, very different from the story we were talking about, Alphamart. And it's what's required in order to create impact. Because there's lots of people with problems, like we talked about in our list at the beginning tonight. But those people don't understand technology or science or management or any of the other tools. Many of the people who understand the tools work for big companies, whether they're scientists or managers or engineers. They don't understand the problems at a community level. It takes an entrepreneur to come in between. So let's look at an example. This is the example I wanted to share before we finish up tonight, although I'm happy to continue answering questions. But this is where I wanted to finish to get to the point of think big, act small. How do we visualize this kind of entrepreneurial opportunity then? If we're Alphamart, we don't need to visualize this because Alphamart sees their customers every single day. And if they are already making something in one flavor, they can imagine the second flavor, the third flavor, whatever. But for us, we are trying to bring together two or more things that never fit together. So let's try to imagine examples. What I like to do, I use the same, we use this to talk about Alphamart, but actually I only use this because I wanted you to be aware of the framework. I use this when I visualize a new opportunity, a new entrepreneurial opportunity, okay? I call this the opportunity canvas. Some of you have probably learned the business model canvas. I don't actually like the business model canvas for a variety of reasons. To me, it's only 4 things. It's people, problem, solution, and resources. Somehow you need to bring these together, all right? Let me finish with a very exciting impact entrepreneurial opportunity. I don't know if you've heard about this one before, but I want to share it with you because to me, it's an exact example of the kind of impact opportunities we want to create. Okay? So you're trying to find people, okay? People who really want to fix their lives. They want to fix the problem in their lives, whether they're a housewife, a fisherman, a farmer. Not everybody is willing to try to fix their problems. Some people are willing to wait for the government or wait for somebody else. But a small number of people really want to fix their lives. You need to find them. Second, you need to find people with problems that are very painful, very urgent. And oftentimes emotional pains are even more painful than physical pains, all right? You know, so things that have to do with our dignity, the way we feel, the way others treat us, the way we treat other people. Many times those are more powerful than physical pain. So as we are visualizing these opportunities, we want to be looking for people and problems like this. And then all of us on this meeting tonight have the opportunity, because we've been exposed to a much wider range of opportunities. We know where we're not experts, but we know where we might go looking for a technology or a new method or a new process or whatever we need to bring together for a solution. All right. So this is how I visualize bringing together this new opportunity, and the entrepreneur is right in the middle. They're the person bringing all these pieces together. All right. Let me give you an example. This is a project I worked with about 5 years ago. We'll see if you might have heard of it. So there was this guy. He was a medical student, and he was working in clinic in Indonesia. Anybody know this guy? I think he's on the call right now. Okay. And this is when we started working together, and he saw a problem. Yeah, we know. I'm sure we do. He saw a whole bunch of people who didn't have the money to pay for their medical bills. For example, people who, would pick through garbage and try to just make, exactly. Thank you, Atia, for Dr. Gamal, exactly. Okay. So he found in the community there are a whole bunch of people who could not afford to come to the clinic when their child was sick, when their family was sick. All right. They had no fixed income. They couldn't afford to pay regular medical bills, such as, one example was people who are scavenging through garbage. Okay. Remember what this looks like. Okay. We are missing a resource here. We're missing the money to pay for the bill. So this entrepreneur, not this guy, because this guy's a doctor, but a guy who looks just like him, who's also an entrepreneur, thinks, you know what, where can I get this resource? These guys are garbage scavengers. And Indonesia has a lot of garbage that just gets thrown away, thrown on the roadside sometimes, plastic bottles and paper and stuff like that. Can they bring their recyclable materials to the clinic on a monthly basis? Not just when they're sick, but bring it every month. And this is how it started, right? And I know you know the story better than me, but I just wanted to show you, because I know that you guys know this example. It's a brilliant example of bringing things together that do not fit together until somebody sees the opportunity. A big company is never going to see this solution, ever, okay? Because a big company is only going to be thinking, a big company might be thinking about clinics, or a big company might be thinking about recycling. But a big company would never, ever think, let's put clinics and recycling together. That's not the way big companies think. But that's the kind of creativity that a great entrepreneurial person can think. So my message to everyone here is the entrepreneur always has a superpower that a big company doesn't have. And that's the ability to bring these things together, to be the person in between that a big company can't have, all right? So in this case, the clinics provided the medical services, but they also received recyclables in exchange for money, or in exchange for money that was kept in a ledger, and they kept an account on every payment, so that then whenever the patient was sick, or their kids were sick, or their family was sick, they could come to the clinic and get their health taken care of without having to worry about how to pay the bills. And when you start looking around you, you will start seeing lots of opportunities exactly like this, all right? This is exactly the kind of entrepreneurial opportunities, and they're all over, okay? This was a brilliant one from Dr. Gamal, but there are a lot of opportunities like this in every community, because as you guys listed already, there are people who don't have enough education, don't have a nice enough environment, don't have enough empowerment in their lives. And that means they are waiting for somebody to step in between their problem or their challenge and some solution. And the fact that all of you guys are on this call means that you guys are exposed to a lot more opportunities, a lot more technologies and solutions and methods and products and services. And it's just open to your own creativity to figure out how to deliver something to one of those groups of people that you talked about at the beginning of the meeting today. Okay, so it really isn't a matter of skills. It's a matter of mindset, all right? Wherever you are, okay? It's really a matter of being willing to think, how can I put stuff together in a new way that solves this problem for the people that I'm trying to target, okay? Skills and capabilities, big companies have those. They've got experts all over the place. They've got marketing experts and engineering experts and technical experts and logistics experts and every other kind of expert. That's not what helps entrepreneurs. What helps entrepreneurs is this mindset of being willing to try something completely different. So that's what we want to try. And what we call that is think big, dream big, but there's this act small part. Why the act small? Because we know it's not going to work the first time. Because we're doing something nobody has ever done before. So take it in small steps, but always keep that target up there in your mind. So you're looking up at the target, but you're taking smaller steps. You can't, whoops, let me go back. You can't just jump to here like a big company can when they launch a new snack or a new flavor of beverage, because you're really trying something completely new that's never been done. So you take a step and then you see how you're doing and you look up, and you take another step and you look up. And if you keep at it, if you keep doing it over and over and over, that's what we call act small. If you keep doing it over and over and over, you will head towards this big goal that you are seeking. Okay, This is what's called the small power perspective. Entrepreneurs' superpower is the fact that it's actually they have small power. Big companies' strength and weakness is they've got too much power, which means that they only can do a certain kind of innovation. All right. So you might be working inside an organization or you might be starting a business, but entrepreneurs always work from a small power perspective. They don't think about the system. Their goal is not to build on a system. Their goal is to create a completely new system. So how do we create a new system? First of all, work on something that other people find important. Urgent problem, or what's Lumintu mean? Thank you, Terima kasih. What does Lumintu mean, Zaki?
I don't really know well about Lumintu, but if I'm not mistaken,
step to continue. Thank you. Exactly. Yeah. That's a great word, right? This is the thing. Be creative and innovative when you dream, but just be persistent and take small steps. Lots of small steps. Lumintu, okay? And really, that's the goal. We're not working within a system. We're trying to set up a new system, a new set of goals, all right? Problems become the opportunities. When we're working on something great, other people help us. So we don't have our own resources. If we had our own resources, it would force us in a single direction. Just like Alphamart. Alphamart does mini marts. They will never do anything else. They will do mini marts. Their power forces them in a direction. The great thing about entrepreneurs is we can go in any direction we want because we can get resources from anyone who will give us resources. We just have to come up with great ideas, okay? Do something valuable, do something with impact, solve those big problems, but Lumintu, do the small steps over and over and over until you reach that big goal. Okay, and by the way, this isn't only for the person starting a business. It can be for a scientific researcher. It can be for the investor. It can be for employees. It can be for government, people working in the government. Everybody can benefit from a better entrepreneurial mindset. We run programs in Thailand. I'd be happy to talk to anybody who wants to hear more about this, where we help communities be more entrepreneurial. And it's not to start businesses, it's to empower the community to solve their own problems. Okay, so we work with communities all across Thailand, some in the south, some in the north, some are fishermen, some are raising farming products, some are working on robots. It's a very diverse group, but we're trying to empower anybody. It's not just for starting a business. All right, so in this world, we have lots of think small, act small, mom and pop type businesses. And some of them are great, but we also have to be aware because those are the ones that big companies are going to swallow up. We also have lots of think big, act big. Those are the big companies. And sometimes that's all we see. And sometimes we think that's the only innovation, but it's not. Our challenge is to think big and act small because and the message I want you to remember tonight is you create a completely different type of innovation than big companies. You are not doing the same job as a big company at all right? And that's really what I want us to understand more than anything tonight. Big companies are not a threat to us if we are doing something entrepreneurial, because a big company can never, ever do anything entrepreneurial. So think big, act small. To do this well, explore forever. We taught you, keep your eyes open every day. You can be exploring people and problems, even when you go to work, even when you go to school, even when you're on the same path that you go every single day of your life. Open your eyes and you will realize things are changing every day, even in an area which you think is the same as yesterday. Okay? Choose open-ended questions. Don't look for yes or no. All right? Always ask value for whom or what's the person's problem. Start with that. Don't start with the solution. You can always find the solution afterward. But we, as entrepreneurs, have to have a problem. Big companies don't need a problem. Anything that goes into that Alphamart store is going to sell. All right? But for us, we need to be really working on an important problem. And that's why impact is so important for us. All right. Find the people who need you the most and work with them. This isn't just for your future customers. This is also your stakeholders. You'd be surprised. Investors, you know, we think we need to beg money from investors. We don't have to beg money from investors. Investors have one huge problem, and that is they cannot think of any new ideas. Investors require entrepreneurs to come up with new ideas because investors are not able to think of new ideas. All right. So you are actually helping an investor out when you come up with a new idea, because rich people are not able to think of new ideas. I don't know why, but it's a fact. All right. So you can help stakeholders who have trouble thinking of new ideas if you're creative. All right. And I just want to leave with one story from Hindi mythology. I love this story. This comes from a woman named Parvati, who was the wife of Shiva. And she said, if one is persistent and heroic enough, that's the act small, one will generate so much heat that the gods will be forced to grant his or her wish in order to save themselves and the world from being scorched. Don't be afraid of big organizations or influential people, because they need you as much as you need them, if you are willing to think of creative and wild ideas. So that was the message I wanted us to hear tonight. That to me is think big, act small. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ad, for your very wonderful presentations, and also it's very insightful. And due to our time, it's been 9:28. So I'd like to ask you, is it okay for us to have a Q&A session?
Sure.
Okay, so it's still okay, guys. So, jadi teman-teman silakan, ini masih kita buka sesi Q&A, tapi karena waktunya sudah terbatas dan juga cukup ini ya, cukup extend gitu. Jadi mungkin nggak akan banyak-banyak, mungkin atau 1 atau 2, mungkin 3, mungkin pertanyaan. Silahkan yang mau bertanya bisa raise hand seperti biasa ya. Silakan yang mau bertanya silakan raise hand. Oke, Faik, silakan open mic.
Hello, Ed. Thank you so much for this awesome presentation. I got so much insight from this session, but I have several questions. The first one is, maybe we have a lot of opportunities, and sometimes we get confused to choose which opportunities that we have to take. Do you have any kind of tips of choosing whether the best opportunity is what, like that? And then the second thing is, when we are going to start something, sometimes we have any kind of worries. Maybe we are going to worry of any kind of the risk that we are going to face in the future, or any kind of things like that. And do you have any advices or something that can help us in overcome our own worries or anxiety itself, so that we can still move forward and reach our goal itself? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my main advice is don't worry. Okay, and I mean that seriously to an extent, and that is, so let's go back to the think big, act small part. So it's very, very important that you do both of those, that you think big, but you act small. All right, meaning if you've broken things down into small steps, I'm not saying do it slowly. You can move very, very fast, but you take small steps, and every step you're asking yourself, am I on the right track? Am I on the right track? Because that allows you're learning. Entrepreneurs need to learn very, very quickly whether something is going to work or not work. That's what lowers risk, and that's what allows us to not worry. Okay? That's the first thing. The second thing, which is related to this, is work on lots of ideas, Faik. Don't work on one. All right? Okay, once one begins to really grow, okay, then focus on it. But if you are in the idea stage, you need to have several ideas that you're playing with. All right? And as you have those ideas, You are beginning to talk to people who might be affected by those problems. You're beginning to talk to people who might have a technology or a solution. And yes, it takes work, but it can also be a lot of fun. If you're curious, if you're the person who's curious, you're learning a lot and you're finding it fun. It's fun learning and it's on its own. And you've got a whole bunch of these ideas kind of sitting there, and they move at different speeds. Okay, some move kind of very slowly, and some might start to go. And then once you start finding a person who has an important problem, and you start to talk to them, and you start discussing the solution with them, the first thing you need to do is solve their problem. Always starts with number one. But as soon as you are beginning to work with that first person, then you are trying to find out who's number two. Now, sometimes the first person will tell you number two. They'll say, hey, I know someone else like this. Because a lot of times people with similar problems, especially if it's a problem that they haven't solved, they find each other, okay? And they begin to, especially if it's a person who is seeking a solution to their problem. This is very, very important. There are different types of people in the world. I didn't put the slide in here because, as you can see, we wanted to cover a lot in discussion, but there's a normal curve, right? I know I'm not a very good drawer, but think of a bell curve, right? Like we use for statistics, all right? And we've got the average in the middle. And we've got these way out in the tails, we've got people who are very, very different from average. At one end, it's people who are really, really willing to try something new. And at the other end, really, really willing to not try anything new. And then in between is just average people. Those people who are really, really willing to try something new, you need to find them. It's about 15%, okay? It's like the two standard deviations way out there. Why are they willing? Well, some people are willing to try something new just because they like to try something new. Great, find them. But more importantly, especially when we're talking about impact, there are people who are trying to find solutions in their lives. So one of us tonight talked about fishermen. I guarantee you, I've never talked to any Indonesian fisherman ever in my life. But I guarantee you, if you sat down and talked with 50 Indonesian fishermen, their answers would be something like the middle group of them would say, yeah, we'd like to do better, but we're happy enough. It's just the way it is. That's our life. We have no choice. And there would be some people say, no, I'm not going to do anything at all. It's the government's job to help me. But there would be a small number. There'd be a small number of people. If out of 50, I would guess 5, 6, 7 people who were trying new things. They'd be trying new things. They'd be trying something in their boat, or they'd be trying something to keep track of where fish are, or whatever. Every group of people is like this. Every group of people, there's a small number of people who are trying harder than everyone else to fix their own situation in their life. That's who you need to find. And if you find them first, they will work with you to solve the solution. And then you find number 2 and number 3 and number 4. And then once that group is successful, those other fishermen begin to see it, or other farmers, or other instructors, or other housewives, or whatever. And then it begins to grow. But those are the ones you need to find first. And you will find, when you find those people, it doesn't feel very high risk at all, because you are working together for the solution. If you can't find those people, it's going to feel like it's very stressful, very high risk. The people you're talking to say they have a problem, but they're not willing to try anything new. Most people are like this. No matter how bad their problem is, most people they would rather keep their own problem than take a risk trying something else. So it's very important. You need to find that small percent of people who are really trying to fix their life. And if you find them, you will not feel any stress. It'll feel joyful to work with that kind of people. But it's a very small percentage. It's not the first people you see ever, unfortunately. But keep exploring. That's why I say explore forever. That's why it's good to have several ideas going. You kind of have to keep looking until you find those people who really, really have a need. There was another slide in there. Find the people who need you the most. And those guys are a lot of fun to work with because they're trying to solve their own problem. And when you come along, you're a hero. Okay. So keep trying to look for those people. And I think you'll find things will feel a lot easier. The hard part is the search. Okay. The hard part is the search. That's why we kind of have to explore all the time.
Okay. Thank you.
Keep me updated on your progress. We want to hear how you're doing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you.
Terima kasih Faik, semoga menjawab ya jawaban dari Edward ya. Yuk silakan teman-teman yang lain yang mau bertanya. You have question on the chat box.
Yeah. Excellent question. Okay, so so this question that you've written, Betsy, has from what I read has several different layers to it. Let's take the last question first. What happens if you can't pay back their capital? Well, that's why they're the investor, not you, right? It's a lot worse paying back your own capital if you lose it, okay? So that's why you turn to an investor, and that's the risk they take, all right? But more importantly, if you're worried about not paying back their capital, I think the real challenge is, what can we do for the scavengers, all right? When you say it needs big capital, I mean, I would love to discuss this further. So, I mean, I don't know enough information really to give you specific advice here. But my first questions would be, you know, is the only solution to help scavengers, does the only solution require big capital, or are there some smaller steps that we can go along the way? And are there some ways that we can lower the amount of capital by doing things in a different way? Sometimes we don't have to invest in something, we can rent something, or we can borrow a piece of equipment from somebody, so I don't know enough about your specific situation, but I've always tried to be in a situation where, number one, I have a customer before I have to pay any bills. And number two, I never buy anything. I mean, I never invest in anything. I try to rent stuff or borrow stuff or get other people to help provide the equipment or the things that might cost big capital. And for a project like this, where you're clearly having a high social value, a social impact, there might be a lot of people who would help you. But again, it's just the same thing, similar to what I said with Faik. It's always that small number of people. So even when you're looking for investors, look for the small 15%, the small number who really, really want to do something new. Don't look at the average investor. The average investor is just following everybody else, all right? But you can find a small number of investors who want to try something new or bold or exciting. So please feel free to send me an email and describe your project in more detail, and I'll try to give you more specific things. But my goal, if I had a project like yours, is to lower the big capital and then find the right investor who wants to support the goal I'm trying to make more than whether they get a return on their investment or not. That doesn't mean I'm not trying to give them their money back. I am, but some investors, the social impact is more important than the return on investment. They're willing to take a higher level of risk for a given investment if it has high impact. Please send me an email and give me more details, and I'll try to give you even more specific advice. I don't know enough about your project, but from my experience, there's always ways to lower the investment risk, and there's always ways to find a better investor. I'm not saying it's easy, by the way. I'm just saying there are ways.
Maybe you could write down your email or your contact.
Yeah, it's on the front of the slides, and I'm assuming you guys are going to take these slides, which I'm happy to send, but let me get to the front so you have them. There we go. Oh, I'm not sharing, sorry. 1 second. I'll just put it in the chat.
I just
Oh,
put
yeah.
Ed's
Not
email in
I
the chat.
I
Yeah.
can't-
just share it.
Hey, Dick, can you put yours in as well so we can answer together?
Oke, itu teman-teman ya, silakan dicatat emailnya.
Please copy both of us. Natia is more reliable than I am. That's why she's the boss. Yes, please contact us, Betsy. We'd like to hear more.
Okay, I'll write down yours, Nataya. Because I already have the one belongs to Edward in his curriculum today.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oke, sudah semoga terjawab ya pertanyaan dari Kak siapa tadi? Oh ya, Kak Betsy ya. Terima kasih. I think that's all for the questions because I think there's no one have any more questions to ask. But someone asked you whether you could provide us your slide of presentation after this.
I can. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
I'll put it right here. Maybe my downloads. All right. There we go. It should be loading. By the way, there's another section in the presentation which I didn't do. I didn't plan on doing it, but I put it in there just in case we wanted to discuss it. So feel free to ask me questions about those as well. But that's the presentation, and feel free, all of you, to share it with whoever it can be helpful to. And Myrnie, who had helped me get set up and everything tonight, please feel free to forward this as well.
Kak Murni silakan.
Okay, shall we say goodnight then? Zaki, thank you for the help.
Yeah, but before we close this very night, I would like to give the conclusion of the whole presentation for today. So the conclusion would be, we've learned a lot from today's presentations, that we do and we come to some points that first, it is important to analyze every important part, whether it is the people, problem, solution, or even resource. The second of all, it's also growing our mindset on how we should think and act. It's also widen our horizon on how we should perceive things. And from this presentation, we also know that our challenge for today is not to think big and act big, neither to think small, act small, but it's more likely to think big and act small. Through this presentation, we also known on how the idea of impact could be found. And the last and the most important thing is knowing value would be beneficial for us in order to perceive things.